Don't blink! All in. Just my style.
Welcome, class, to Economics 9.12 Ekko University, where we're talking about everything Ekko for patch 9.12. I know I've been gone for 2 weeks. I was on vacation, but now we're back on that grind. So yeah, see you guys more often. With that being said, let's talk about the best runes, the best builds, the most bans, and Ekko's patch rank for patch 9.12. But on top of that, we'll talk about some relevant things that happened in the patch notes for patch 9.12. So let's get right into it. The first thing is the Mordekaiser rework. His Q is like a really cool AoE Yorick Q. His E is like a Swain pull. His W is just a shield and a heal. His passive is like a 3-hit mega AoE damage passive. And then his R is a beautiful Shadow Realm. Mordekaiser already got micro nerfs, so he's a lot weaker than he was on a release, but he's still pretty good. And then we have the Rise rework, number 3000. So Rise no longer has a shield. His E no longer does damage when it spreads, and on top of that, his W is a slow unless you empower it with your E. So Rise is a lot simpler to play, but he actually does a lot more damage because his R gives him Q damage now, so he's still really annoying for a lot of champions, I think, and he's a lot easier to play now, so we'll see where Rise goes, you know? On top of that, we got some Sylas reworks happening. They nerfed Sylas so he does less AoE damage to wave, so he can't push as hard. His passive has 2 stacks now, so you could actually stack up to 2 of his auto attacks. His E no longer gives him a shield on the first dash. He has to hit the E to get the shield. And now his Q does less damage overall. So overall, this was a nerf to wave clear Sylas, but he does get more benefits for landing his abilities now. And now for some smaller changes that affect Ekko, Aurelia got nerfed again because she's too dominant in pro play and a high level, lowering her E cooldown by 4 seconds to 2 seconds, and then her E range by a little bit. It's not going to make Aurelia balanced. Aurelia's kit is just, like, amazing once you master it. So it's like, you gotta, I don't know what they gotta do, but this E-nerf is not going to change Aurelia's status at all. In pro play, high elo play, nothing. And then we got the Corrupting Potion nerf. So another starting item for Ekko has been nerfed. First it was Doran's Ring, then it was Dark Seal, now Corrupting Potion. Corrupting Potion now does 15 less damage. Before you go 15 to 30 scaling, not only does 15 the entire game, so now your Corrupting Potion will be doing less damage the longer the game goes on. So yay, another indirect nerf to Ekko. Woo! Alright guys, let's talk about the best rune page for Ekko 9.12. And I just want to say that runes are like flexible, they're very adaptive, you can do whatever you want. This is personally my favorite at the moment. I go Domination Inspiration, Electrocute, Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, Magical Footwear into Biscuits. Why do I do this? The biscuits just help you lane. It's so nice to have biscuits in lane. It's like an extra healing. And you get a free 160 mana by 12 minutes. It's basically like a mini mana flow band that gives you free healing instead. So, and free healing and mana instead. And then I love magical boots because, I don't know, I love getting free boots for 300 gold. It did get nerfed a while ago, but it's still pretty decent. And it gives you faster, it gives you free boots and they're 10 movement speed faster. Electrocute, Sudden Impact is pretty good too, but I've seen people go True Blood, Taste of Blood, and I've seen people go like with that cheap shot. You could try one of those out, but I personally like Sudden Impact the best, but I've seen some people actually using like cheap shot and stuff, so try those out. Eyeball Collection I think is the best out of all these. Maybe Ghost Spore in some situations, but you gotta micromanage Ghost Spore, whereas Eyeball Collection is just free stats for assists and kills. And then Ravenous Hunter is just free healing, like it's basically like a free Gunblade at rank 5 when you fully like stack it. But I've been trying out Ultimate Hunter, and actually Ultimate Hunter is actually not that bad. When you fully stack Ultimate Hunter with 20% CDR, you'll basically have 40% CDR on your R. If you had 40% CDR regularly, then you have 65% CDR on your R, so you can have your R back pretty quickly. So you guys could try that out too. But like I said, runes are very flexible, very adaptive. You can do what you want. I sometimes go Sorcery, Absolute Focus, Gathering Storm, or Mana Flow Band, Gathering Storm. You can literally do Transcendence. You can do whatever you want when it basically comes to rune pages. So this is for Ekko in the mid lane. And this is my jungle rune page. For the jungle, I go Electrocute, Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, the same as mid. But I go Persistent Tree secondary, and I go Alacrity for that attack speed because you're auto-attacking the jungle. And I go Coup de Grace for more damage. You could go Triumph. I always switch between those. I don't know which one's better. I feel like they both have their benefits, but yeah. And then you always gotta go for the attack speed flex rune because you're gonna auto-attack a lot in the jungle. The AP rune. And on top of that, you have to get the armor flex rune because all the camps in the jungle will do attack damage to you, and armor helps a lot. This is for the full AP in the jungle. There is that arc second build where you go Conquer, You guys could easily find that on his like na.op.gg and u.gg, whatever. But I don't like, I think it's a lot harder to play Conquer, especially in lower elos. Conquer Ekko jungle is more of a higher elo thing because you don't do that much burst damage. So it's kind of harder to 1v9 the games in lower elos because burst is a lot better to 1v9 a game, whereas Conquer is more sustained damage and helps, like, you know, in team fights with a good team, whatever. So I would recommend going Electrocute instead of Conquer if you're lower elo. But if you want to try with Conquer, then hey, go for it, man. So for Ekko's best build, nothing really has changed. So for the early game, I go Corrupting Potion Doran's Ring, as you see on the screen. But you could go Corrupting Potion Dark Seal still. You could go double Doran's. You could go Dark Seal refillable Doran's. You can't go double Dark Seal anymore because that was nerfed a long time ago. I personally like Corrupting Potion Doran's Ring because that gives you a good amount of mana to sustain throughout the entire laning phase. And I just think Dark Seal is so weak. Like, even if you stack it, I don't even think it's worth. It's a really bad item. It sells poorly. If you die once, you lose all your stacks. It does less damage than before. I don't know. I just don't like Dark Seal anymore. I'm boycotting Dark Seal. But that being said, Corrupting Potion Doran's Ring gives me a lot of sustain. Doran's Ring does help you CS a little better with the auto attacks. Gives you mana back. Gives you HP, which is also really good for the laning phase. Corrupting Potion Doran's Ring is just very good for sustain in the laning phase. But after that, the regular Ekko build is just Proto Built into Boots of Choice, Merc Tres versus Heavy CC, AP, Tabbies versus like someone like Yasuo, or Storks for that Magic Pen, into Lichbane. Then after Lichbane, you literally pick whatever you want depending on the game. If you're snowballing, go Death Cap. If the enemy team already built like 3 MR items or whatever, go Void Staff. If the enemy team has, you know, a lot of like hard engage with also AD champions, go Zanya's. Moral Namacon if you're against like a Vlad or something. You know, when it comes to after Lichbane, you can basically build whatever you want. It's up to you. Make the correct game decision. And yeah, build the item that helps you win the game. Ekko's jungle build is basically the same thing, except the first item will be Runic Echoes, and then you can literally build Proto Belt into Lichbane into whatever you want, or Runic Echoes into Lichbane, whatever you want. That's what I built for Ekko in the jungle. Quick, dirty, easy, same as mid lane, except Runic Echoes. And now for the must bans, we have a lot of out of mid lane bans. In mid lane, I just banned Cassidy because Cassidy is just super OP versus Ekko. Even though Ryze did get reworked, Ryze is still Ryze. I think he'll even get a lot better once people readjust how to play him. But on top of that, the sleeper OP pick that not a lot of people are playing yet, but if you see it, you better run away from it, is Rumble Mid. Rumble Mid is unbeatable as Ekko. I think he's even harder to beat than like Cassidy and Ryze. Rumble just cannot die to Ekko. He has a click W shield. He has a AoE flamethrower. His E is like a slow. His R is insanely good, and he builds HP AP, which means that he's basically an AP bruiser tank that Ekko cannot kill. That any melee champion in general cannot beat Rumble. Rumble is so good. Even pro players are spamming Rumble in solo queue like Bjergsen. But what I'm actually banning right now is out of mid lane. Rengar is one of the strongest junglers. Just snowballs the game. I ban him. I have a Kai'Sa curse. If I see a Kai'Sa in the game, I just lose. So I ban Kai'Sa. That's my personal ban. Riven is still Riven. She's getting better and better after her nerf because people are still realizing that, hey, Riven is still Riven. Rek'Sai is still pretty good. I see him less often now, but Rek'Sai could still dominate the game with Conquer. Kha'Zix is just like Rengar. You know, he's like an invisible one-shotter. And then Hecarim is still Hecarim. I just lose every game against Hecarim. I lose every game against Rengar, Riven. Like, these champions are so strong. Like, mid lane is very balanced right now. It's just every other lane is very, very broken. I could include more champions on this list, but like, I would need like 30 pages of paper. And now for Ekko's patch rating, I give Ekko a B- for this patch. Why a B-? Well, I don't think Ekko's a bad champion. I think Ekko's a pretty good champion. I feel like Ekko with a good team, a non-inting team, is actually a pretty decent, good champion. But the problem is, it's just mid lane is not where it's at right now. I think mid lane is super balanced, which is good, which means that one champion doesn't really dominate the other unless you get fully countered, and that's what counters are meant to do. Like a Kassadin counters an Ekko, but if I wasn't playing Ekko, I could like counter the Kassadin. But that being said, mid lane in general, there's not that much of a power gap between, just the average champions. There are stronger champions than others, but nothing's too crazy compared to other lanes. For example, like jungle is just insane. Top lane is insane. Riven, Aurelia, Camille now, Aatrox. There's just so many champions in the game, especially like the Conqueror champions that are just so strong. And on top of that, jungle like Hecarim is still amazing. Rengar, Kha'Zix are just one-shotting assassins. 80 carries 1v9 the games again with their Yumi supports and Lulu supports now. Like Jinx, 1v9s, Kai'Sa. Like it's just mid lane is a role right now that it just sits there for like 5 minutes, not doing anything. And by that time, there's already like 30 kills in the game. And the problem is that mid laners don't int, unless the mid laners just don't really int that hard. It's really hard to get some kills early game unless you're like a Talon who gets to level 2. But other than that, mid laners, the towers are pretty close to each other. They have corrupting potion in mid lane. They have like a dark shield in mid lane, or they have all this stuff like barriers and stuff in mid lane, where it's just really hard to kill somebody. And whereas in bot lane, people fight level 2. In top lane is such a big lane. You mess up once, you'll get ganked or you'll get killed. Jungle will have to fight for the scuttle. So there's just a lot of things that other lanes have to deal with that mid lanes don't, which forces a lot of fight on other lanes. And by the time you're ready to fight a mid lane, for example, Ekko wants to fight after his first back when he gets like at least his Doran's ring and maybe an amplifying tome. By that point, there could already be like 5 fights and 10 kills in the game, which means you lose a lot of impact. So I feel like Ekko is not too bad. I feel like Ekko is not the strongest champion, but on top of that, mid lane, even though a very important role, it's not the strongest 1v9 role. So that being said, that's why I give Ekko a B-. Hopefully the game gets better. Don't worry guys, I'm a main Ekko in Teamfight Tactics. And yeah, thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.